students, but we want them to be checked. You know, of Harvard and Columbia and others. All we want to do is see their list. There's no problem with that. This is anybody outside of our country, national students, because when we see some of the people that we've been waiting, we say, where do these people come from? How is that possible? No, we want to have foreign students. I'm very honored by it, but we want to see their list. Harvard didn't want to give us the list. They're going to give us the list now. I think they're starting to behave, actually, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. President.
On Russia, are you with more pressure on Putin to end the war by imposing new sanctions on Russia and also on China?
Well, remember, I'm the one that ended Nordstream 2, going to a place called Germany, come to think of it. I'm sorry I did that, I don't know. But Nordstream 2, nobody else did. And then when Biden came in, he immediately approved it. That's so essentially the largest pipeline in the world, going to Germany and other countries. And by the way, we have so much oil and gas, you will not pay it all. I mean, you literally, we have so much, and I hope we're going to make that a part of our trade deal because we have more than anybody else. We have actually the most by far in the world, probably double what anyone else has. So we'll work on that. I'm sure that's we'll discuss today.
Mr. President,
what do you expect from Germany and what do you expect from the Chancellor?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to meet because I've been dealing with the Chancellor, and he's a very good man to deal with. Difficult, I would say. Can I say that? It's a positive.
Go ahead.
You wouldn't want me to say you're easy, right?
No.
Yeah, he's a very great representative of Germany. I think all we want is just going to have a good relationship. The rest will just sort of follow. We'll have a good trade deal. I mean, I guess that will be mostly determined by the European Union, but you're a very big part of that, so you'll be involved. But we'll end up hopefully with a trade deal or we'll do something, you know, we'll do the tariffs. I mean, I'm okay with the tariffs or we make a deal with the trade, and I guess that's what we're discussing now.
Mr. President,
Back up, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President? Okay.
Is Germany doing enough on defense, Mr. President? Is Germany doing enough on defense?
What?
Defense spending.
is Germany doing enough? On
The Chancellor wants to.
Is Germany doing enough on
Chancellor wants to
defense?
spend 3.5.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I haven't discussed it very much. I know that you're spending more money on defense and quite a bit more money. And that's a positive thing. I'm not sure that General MacArthur would have said it's positive, you know. He wouldn't like it, but I sort of think it's good. You understand what I mean by that? He made a statement, never let Germany rearm. And I said, I think about that when he says, sir, we're spending more money on defense. I say, ooh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. But, you know, at least there'll be a point when I'll say, please don't arm anymore if you don't mind. We'll be with him.
Mr. President. Question on Biden, Mr. President.
Yeah, Biden, you say Biden.
Your predecessor did your autopen investigation. He said he made all the decisions during his presidency. I'm curious your reaction to the missile.
Well, look, the autopen, I think, is the big scandal outside of the rigged election of 2020. I think the biggest scandal of the last many years is the autopen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay, because I'm here. And I'm not a big autopen person, fortunately. I'm glad. I'm very glad. It's an easy way out. But it's a very bad thing, very dangerous. You know, I sign important documents. Usually when they put documents in front of you, they're important. Even if you're signing ambassadorships and I consider that important. I think it's inappropriate. You have somebody that's devoting 4 years of their life or more to being an ambassador. I think you really deserves to get a real signature, not an autopen signature. And I can tell autopen easily. I can look at it like two little pinholes from pulling the paper, right? You always see the pinholes. Yeah. It's real easy to tell about autopen. I think it's very disrespectful to people when they get an autopen. So outside, autopen to me are used when thousands of letters come in from young people all over the country and you want to get them back. And, you know, people use autopens for that, to send a little signature at the bottom of a letter. We have thousands of them, thousands of letters a week. And it's not possible to, you know, do. I'd like to do it myself, but you can't do it. To me, that's where autopen start and stop. But I don't think, I'm sure that he didn't many of the things. Look, he was never for open borders. He was never for transgender for everybody. He was never for
listen carefully,
men playing
people.
in women's sports. I mean, he changed. I mean, these things that changed so radically. I don't think he had any idea that what was, frankly, I said it during the debate and I say it now, he didn't have much of an idea what was going on.
Mr. President,
You shouldn't be, I mean, essentially, who the autopen was the president. And that is wrong, it's illegal, it's so bad, and it's so disrespectful to our country.
It's treason.
Mr. President, will you lead your troops in Germany? And if I may, question to the Chancellor to answer in German for the German audience. How is your first encounter been?
The answer is yes, we'll talk about that, but if they'd like to have them there, yeah, we have about 45,000. It's a lot of troops. It's a city. That's good economic development. They're highly paid troops and they spend a lot of
Hey,
money
darling.
in Germany. But the relationship with Germany is very important. Yeah, we'll be doing it, no problem.
Say a few words in German to
Yes,
the German
please.
public. So,
Bitte.
danke für die Frage. Wir sind hier im Weißen Haus und ich bedanke mich beim Präsidenten für den sehr freundlichen Empfang im Oval in diesem weltweit bekannten Raum. Ich freue mich sehr, hier zu sein. Und wir bereiten eine Vertonung unserer
So he's
Zusammenarbeit
thanking
vor.
everyone and he's glad to be in the Oval Office.
Do you speak English because you speak such good English? Is it as good as your German, would you say? Do you feel,
No.
feel more
My mother
comfortable?
tongue. No, it's not my mother tongue, but to understand almost everything and
Yeah, very
to
good.
speak as good as I can.
Very good. You know, it's,
He can understand more than he can say. I know it from experience.
The criticism that I've seen thank you, Mr. President. The criticism that I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, regarding Elon Musk and your big, beautiful bill, what's your reaction to that? Do you think it in any way hurts passage in the Senate, which, of course, what is you're seeking?
Well, look, you know, it's like Elon, and it's always very surprised. You saw the words he had for me, the words, and he hasn't said anything about me that's bad. I'd rather have him criticize me than the bill. The bill is incredible. It's the biggest cut in the history of our country. We've never cut. It's about 1.6 trillion in cuts. Biggest tax cut. Tax, you would say, people's taxes will go way down, but it's the biggest tax cut in history. It's we are doing things in that bill that are unbelievable. And when you look at going for small businesses, for people, for middle-income people, all the things that we're doing, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And Elon's upset because we took the EV mandate, and which was a lot of money for electric vehicles, and they're having a hard time, the electric vehicles, and they want us to pay billions of dollars in subsidy. And Elon knew this from the beginning. He knew it for a long time. That's been in there. That's been, I would say, JD, that hasn't changed. That's been right from the beginning, Mr. Secretary, that hasn't changed at all, right from the beginning. But I know that disturbed him. He wanted, and rightfully, he reckoned somebody from that he, I guess, knew very well. I'm sure he respected him, but to run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. And he happened to be a Democrat, like totally Democrat. And look, we won. We get certain privileges, and one of the privileges, we don't have to appoint a Democrat. NASA is very important. We have great people. General K is going to be picking somebody with our. We'll be checking him out, and seeing. But he wanted that person, a certain person, and we said no. And I can understand why he's upset. Remember, he was here for a long time. You saw a man who was very happy when he stood behind the old desk, and even with the black eye, I said, "Do you want a little makeup? We'll get you a little makeup." But he said, "No, I don't think so," which is interesting.
Which is
very nice. He
interesting.
wants to be who he is, so you could make that statement too, I guess. Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore. I was surprised because you were here. Everybody in this room practically had a wonderful send-off. He said wonderful things about me. You couldn't have nicer. Said the best things. He's worn the hat. Trump was right about everything, and I am right about the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it a great, big, beautiful. That's what it is. And again, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest economic development moves anywhere. We've never done anything like it. Business is spurred. And I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but the numbers came out. Even this, which is run by Democrats, said that we're going to be doing, I want you to discuss it, the 2.8 trillion, that CBO. This is a group of people that are Democrats. They're very hostile to. They just came out with phenomenal numbers. What it does. You want to mention that, Scott?
Yes, sir. What we've seen is we keep hearing from the CBO that there's going to be a large deficit from the bill, which we disagree with, but using the CBO scoring, they came out and scored the tariff revenue. We think it'll be the minimum of 0.8 trillion over the 10-year window, which actually puts the bill in surplus if you include the tariff revenue, which they won't do.
It gives you a tremendous, but we're not allowed to use that. For some reason, they say scoring. Nobody knows what scoring means. Maybe a couple of people, but nobody. Somebody sits in the background, they say, well, we're not going to allow that. They're not allowing other things that we have that are tremendously for our country. But if you saw the other day, CNBC, they came out with numbers, and the people on the show, very good people, I've watched them for a long time. They couldn't believe the numbers, how good they are. The numbers were incredible. And that was personal income, so very low inflation. We have very low inflation. We're down to 2% now, and maybe even lower than that. And when I took it over, it was a mess. Remember, we had the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. They say 48, but let's say I think it's worse than that. So we had the worst inflation in the history of our country under the Biden administration. Now we're down to a beautiful number, 2%. You'd actually like to keep it there, better than 2%. It's going down maybe to 1%, and 1% is like perfect. It's perfect. You don't want to have 0 for certain reasons that nobody is very interested
You're not listening,
to listen
Cord.
to. But we have almost perfect inflation. Prices are down. Everything. Remember eggs? Eggs. We weren't going to buy another egg in the next 20 years. They were so expensive, right? Remember? You guys all hit me about eggs. Eggs have come down 400%. Everybody has that. But if you look at gasoline, very important. I think always the most important because the energy is the biggest factor. That's what happened. He screwed up our energy policy, and everything went up because energy went up. But now energy is way down. They have states where you're at $1.98 a gallon for gasoline. So the costs have come way down. One of the things I ran on was that. I ran on the border. We have the best border in the history of our country, 99.99%. It was last week, 3 people came in, 2 of them for medical reasons. We let them in because one of them had attack. I think it was a nice thing to do, and one of them had something else. So I had very good numbers for 4 years, but we really topped it. And I want to thank Christie and Tom Homan. They've done a big job. But nobody mentions that anymore. Remember, a few months ago, the border was a total disaster. People were coming in by the hundreds of thousands of people a day, a week, a month. I mean, we had 1 million people came in 1 month. The border was being overrun and bad people, criminals, murderers, drug dealers. We had some of the worst people in the world coming in from all over the world. It's totally closed.
This is true,
And you know what? People into our country, but they're coming in legally. So we've done a great job. Elon knew that. Elon endorsed me very strongly. He actually went up in campaign for me. I think I would have won. Susie would say I would have won Pennsylvania easily anyway. The governor ran, the real governor, not the governor from Minnesota, he's a sick guy, that guy. That poor guy, I feel sorry for him. But they made a bad choice with him. But if you pick Shapiro or anybody else, I spoke to him recently, his house being set on fire, which was terrible.
Quentin.
But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the TV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types.
He's not being
We
mean,
want to
Darla.
have electric,
He
but
just
we want to
doesn't
have
understand.
Lean,
You don't have to ban him.
combustion. We want to have different. We want to have
He's not
hybrids. We
rude.
want to have we want to be able to sell
Thank you,
everything.
Paul.
And when that was, Congress wanted to cut it. He became a little bit different, and I can understand. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the statements made about me, which I'm sure you can get very easily, it's very fresh on tape, said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Mr. President, I just want to clarify, did he raise any of these concerns with you privately before he raised them publicly? And this is the guy you put in charge of cutting spending. Should people think seriously about spending now? Are you saying this is all sour grapes?
No, he worked hard and he did a good job. And I'll be honest, I think he misses the place. I think he got out there and all of a sudden he wasn't in this beautiful Oval Office, and he's got nice offices too. But about this, when I was telling the Chancellor, this is where it is. People come in here, even Germany, they come in and they walk into the Oval Office, and it's a special place. It's, you know, World War I, it started and it ended here, and World War II, and so many other things. Everything big comes right from this beautiful space. It's now much more beautiful than it was 6 months ago. A lot of good things are happening in this room, and I'll tell you, it's not the first. People leave my administration, and they love us, and then at some point so badly, and some of them embrace it, and some of them actually become hostile. I don't know what it is. It's sort of Trump derangement syndrome, I guess they call it, but we have it with others too. They leave, and they wake up in the morning, the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile. Don't know what it is. Someday you'll write a book about it and you'll let us know. Yeah.
Mr. President, speaking of ending wars in this room, you were very critical of Vladimir Putin a couple of days ago. What kind of play is he playing from your perspective? What are his...
Well, look, he got hit. He's been doing hitting, so I understand it. But he got hit hard. And I don't think he's playing games. I think he always said he wanted the whole thing. I thought he wanted the entire, everything having to do with Ukraine. That's something that would have never happened if I were president. The election was rigged. I didn't get to be president, but I got to be president now.
It was rigged.
I think it's a much more important presidency, other than a couple of things like that. The war would have never happened.
Clinton's good people.
The war with Ukraine, with Putin, would never happen, ever,
And a
not even a
patriot.
chance. And it didn't happen for 4 years. And it wasn't thought of. I
And a
used to talk
personal
to him
friend.
about Ukraine a lot. It was the apple of his eye, but he would have never done what he did. And I think mistakes were made by him, but I think mistakes were made by other people. The president should have never allowed that war. Biden should have never allowed that war to happen. If you had the right guy, that war would have never happened. Israel would have never happened with Hamas. That would have never happened. The attack on Israel would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money to give to Hamas or Hezbollah or anybody else. And all of that would have never happened. Inflation wouldn't have happened. It was caused mostly by energy. And the Biden administration met my great energy policy. We were down into the 190 a gallon, and it would have never happened. It was caused by energy and their bad spending on the Green New Scam and other things that they spent on. But all of those things would have never happened. But maybe most importantly,
We think the same about you, New York.
Chancellor, with Russia would never have happened with Ukraine. It was something that would have, you know, I dealt with Putin a lot. There was no chance. And, you know, a lot of people say, how do you know? For 4 years, it didn't happen. There was never a chance of it happening. And he understood the consequences. Now, it's a shame. I mean, when you see all of those people, they came out with a report today that millions of people have died, much more than people thought. And I've been saying that for a long time. The amount of death in that war is far greater than the news has been reporting, or than, frankly, that either side has been reporting. It's a very sad thing. And I can tell you, just speaking for the Chancellor, because we speak about it, he feels the same way. He wants to see it ended. Would you like to say something?
Absolutely. And I'm here, Mr. President, to talk with you later on how we could contribute to that goal. And we all are looking for measures and for instruments bring this terrible war to an end. And may I remind you that we are having June 6th tomorrow. This is D-Day anniversary.
That's right.
When the Americans once ended a war in Europe. And I think this is in your hand in specific, in ours.
That was not a pleasure for you.
No, that was not a pleasant.
This was not a great
in the
day.
long run, Mr. President, this is the liberation of my country from Nazi dictatorship.
That's true. That's true.
And we know what we owe you. But this is the reason why I'm saying that is again in a very strong position to do something on this war and ending this war. So let's talk about what we can do jointly, and we are ready to do what we can. And you know that we gave support to Ukraine, and that we are looking for more pressure on Russia the European Union did, and we should talk about that.
We will talk about it. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's good timing. The numbers for our country are through the roof, the economic numbers, because of the election and because of tariffs and other things, a lot of things. But we've had some of the best numbers we've ever had. They were reported yesterday, the day before, and even today. The country's doing really well. I think that one of the things you'll be most interested in is 6 months ago, we were having a hard time getting anybody to join our military. We just couldn't do it. The numbers were record low. We couldn't get people to join the military. It wasn't me. This was before I got there, the past administration. But 6 months ago, a year ago, the numbers were record low. You couldn't get them to join. That included the police. And you couldn't get them to join. Now, we just hit the highest number in the history of our country, we think, close, but the highest in the history of our country, recruitment, joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, police forces all over the
What did you do for that? What was the reason?
spirit. They love our country again. You're going to do the same thing. Spirit. We have great spirit is back in our country, and it's very simple. You know, it was only, Susie, 6 months ago, right? That you got reports,
We all
you're the
feel
one that
it.
released them, that you couldn't get anybody to join the military. We're stopped. Every service now is packed. We have waiting lists of people trying to get in.
Young
As
people
good
wanna
as we've
save our
ever had in
country.
the history of our country. So that's an honor. That's a great honor. Yeah.
Mr. President, on the war.
Yes, you've had enough. Go ahead.
Mr. President, so would you consider put more sanctions on Russia? Because this discussion is going on now for weeks and months, and you tweeted about it once, but then nothing happened. So
Yeah, when I
what would
see
you do?
that we're not going to make a deal when this thing won't stop.
Is there a
At
deadline?
that moment, yeah, it's in my brain, the deadline. When I see the moment where it's not going to stop, and I'm sure you're going to do the same thing, will be very, very, very tough. And it could be on both countries, to be honest. You know, it takes two to tango. But we're going to be very tough, whether it's or anybody else. We're going to be very tough. That's a bloodbath that's going on over there. And when I see the moment where I say, well, they're going to just keep fighting. You know, I gave the analogy yesterday when I spoke to President Putin. I had an hour and 15-minute call with him. Sometimes, as me speaking, maybe in a negative sense, but sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight. Sometimes you let them fight for a while. You see it in hockey, you see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds, let them go for a little while before you pull them apart. Maybe, and I said it, and maybe that's a negative because we're saying go. A lot of bad blood. There's some bad blood between the two. I have to deal with it, and the Chancellor has to deal with it. It's incredible. There's a great hatred between those two men, but between the warring parties. Great hatred.
Also, you say and believe apparently that there is no immediate peace.
What?
That there is no immediate peace. That will...
I can't. I'd love to have immediate if I could. If I could, but we don't have immediate. You know, it's like I'd love to have that. I'd like it to start. Right now, we would leave a room if we knew the war could end. We'd say, forget about you guys, forget about trade, right?
Yeah.
We'd say, let's go settle it. There's some additional fighting that's going to go on. You know, he attacked, and they attacked pretty harshly. They went deep into Russia, and he actually told me. I mean, I made it very clear. We have no choice but to attack based on that, and it's probably not going to be pretty. I don't like it. I said, don't do it. Do it. You should stop it. But again, there's a lot of hatred. And, you know, I'm very proud of the fact that with India and Pakistan, I was able to stop that. And those are nuclear powers. And that was being out of hand. And I spoke to some very talented people on both sides, good people on both sides. And I said, you know, we're dealing with you on trade, Pakistan and India right now. I said, we're not going to deal with you on trade if you're going to go to each other and whipping out nuclear weapons that maybe even affect us. Because, you know, that nuclear dust blows across oceans very quickly. It affects us. And I said, if you're going to do that, we're not going to do any trade deals. And you know what? I got that war. Now, I hope we don't go back and we find out that they started, but I don't think they will. They were both good. They were well represented. I want to congratulate both countries because, as you know, the leader of India, who's a great guy, was here a few weeks ago. We had some great talks. We do a great deal. And Pakistan, likewise, they have very strong leadership. Some people won't like when I say that, but, you know, it is what it is. And they stopped that war. Now, am I going to get credit? I'll never get credit for anything. Don't give me credit for anything. But nobody else could have done it. I stopped it. I was very proud of that. I wish we could do the same thing with Ukraine, Russia. And at some point it'll happen. I believe that. And if it doesn't happen, or if I see somebody's out of line, if Russia's out of line, you'll be amazed how tough. Remember this. They like to say that I'm friends with Russia. I'm not friends with anybody. I'm not friends with it. I want the right things to happen for our country, for everybody, for humanity.
You're right, Elvis.
But I'm the one that stopped the pipeline. It's called Nordstream 2. It came along. Nobody ever heard, not one person in this room ever heard of Nordstream 2. You probably did because it went to Germany. He's the only one
Knowing that this was a mistake.
But I stopped it. I stopped it. Yeah, and you've said that openly.
Yeah.
It was a mistake because I used to go with Angela. I'd say, well, wait a minute. We're spending
Thanks,
all this
Donna.
money to defend you against Russia.
Hey, Tony.
And then you're giving Russia billions of dollars a month. What kind of a deal is that? You know, which was, but you said it better than anybody else. I appreciate it. I'm the one that stopped it. And that was the biggest economic development job, if you will, at that, in the history, think of it, in the history of Russia. That was a massive, it's the biggest pipeline in the world. Going to go all over Europe, not only to Germany. You know, they were German, but then they were branching off all over to Europe. Nobody ever heard of, not one person of you heard of it. And I stopped it. It was dead. And then they say I'm friends. I got along with him. He respected me, I respected him. It would have never happened. But I stopped Nord Stream 2. When Biden came in, almost the first week, he approved it. He let it be built. And then they say that I wasn't tough on Russia. Putin said to me, you know, you're not tough on Russia. You stopped the biggest, most important job we've ever done. You stopped it. And Biden came in and he let it be built. And I'll tell you what, I'll never forget the day I had it stopped. They weren't building. They gave up on it. They weren't able to. And then Biden, he let it build. I couldn't believe it. Okay, one or two questions more, please. Any questions? Any question for the Chancellor? Please? Go ahead, for the Chancellor. I like his answers much better.
Will you continue to support Ukraine?
Yeah, I'm with Ukraine. We just signed on rare earth with Ukraine. And I want to, you know, I'm for stopping killing, really.
Thank you.
That's what I'm for.
Me too.
Again, a war that would have never started, should have never started. I want to see the killing stop. We spent $350 billion, much more than Europe, but Europe spent a lot also. And they spent way over $100 billion.
Yeah.
So you're talking about close to $500 billion went into that whole thing. And it's not even the money, and I know with you too, it's a lot of money, but it's the death that's being caused. We went to the Middle East, I went last week to the Middle East, we took in $5.1 trillion. That's many, many times. That's 30, 40 times, 50 times more than what we're talking about. It's think of that, $5.1 of investment with one trip that lasted 4 days. So it's not money. It's a little bit of money, but not the money, the big thing. The big thing is the death of, and really the decimation. You've lost a whole culture. You know, Ukraine had the most beautiful turrets. They call them little towers, beautiful towers, the most beautiful in the world. They're all now laying on their side, blown to smithereens. It'll never happen again. They've taken away the culture of a country. They've taken away the heritage of a country. It's a terrible thing. But most importantly, again, is the death. 5,000 plus people a week, soldiers are being killed. I want that, and I don't want that. And one more. Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, do you support the Graham bill on putting
high tariffs on China?
But they'll be guided by me. That's the way it's supposed to be. They're going to be guided by me. No, I haven't looked at it. It's a bill on sanctions, etc. I'm a very quick study. At the right time, I'll do what I want to do. But it could very well be okay. I'll have to see. But they're waiting to decide on what to do, and I'll know maybe very soon. It's a harsh bill. Yeah, very harsh.
Take one more on the autopen.
I would like to have a
Yes, finally, give him a question.
Do you agree with the analogy the president made on the war between Russia and Ukraine as being a fight between two kids? Is that how you view that as well? And what do you actually want the US president to do in this?
Well, I think we both agree on this war and how terrible this war is going on. And we are both looking for ways to stop it very soon. And I told the president before we came in that he is the key person in the world who can really do that now by putting pressure on Russia. And we will have this debate later on again, how we can proceed jointly between the Europeans and the Americans. And I think we are all we are having the duty to do something on that now, after 3.5 years, which is really terrible. Look at the kids, the kids which were kidnapped from Ukraine to Russia. This is all terrible. And so we are talking about instruments, measures, what we can do. And my personal view is clear on that. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we are trying to get them stronger and stronger just to make Putin stop this war. And this is our approach.
You get satellite pictures of the war field,
Yeah.
and you don't even look at them, right?
It's terrible.
So
It's really
bodies, arms, heads, legs all over the place. You've never seen anything like it. It's so ridiculous.
And this is only by Russian weapons against Ukraine. This had never happened with Ukraine weapons against Russia. Never. Ukraine is only targeting military targets, not civilians, not private, not energy infrastructure. So this is the difference. That's the reason why we are trying to do more on Russia, how to stop this war.
Well, in this case, I'm talking about the battlefield, the soldiers on soldiers. But you could also say the cities.
Yep.
The cities are
Yep.
being hit also. So it's a terrible, terrible thing. Right? Somebody said autopen. Did I hear the word autopen?
I was just curious.
Because I think it's the biggest scandal maybe in the last 100 years in this country. So when I hear that word, I think it's to be discussed because the fake news will try and hide it, and we can't do that.
Well, that's
But go
what I'm
ahead.
asking. Have you uncovered any evidence that anything
Hey, Ohio.
specific without President Biden's knowledge or by other people in the administration acting illegally?
Well, I don't think Biden would know whether or not he signed it.
I'm asking if you've uncovered any of that information.
No, but I've uncovered, the human mind. I was in a debate with the human mind, and I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing. So, it's just one of those things, one of those problems. We can't ever allow that to happen to our country. The danger our country was in, and I know some
He
of the people
explained
that
it,
work
Prof.
with him, radical left, horrible people. And I could give you the name of some of the people that use the autopen, because I'm here, and I ask questions about people that were here also. There are a lot of people that were here when that happened, and they're here right now, and they'll answer your question very accurately. But I know some of the people use that autopen, and those are not the people that had the same ideology as Biden. These were radical left lunatics that used that, and they didn't get elected. He didn't get elected either, actually. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Frank.
Okay, well, I guess that's the end of that press conference. Thank you for joining us here in the House of MAGA. Anyway, welcome to today's Beach Report that we have begun with the press conference of President Trump and the German Chancellor MERZ. And MERZ seems like a pretty down-to-earth fellow. And somebody thinks I'm a grifter. That's pretty funny. And you know nothing about me. That's what get rid of that. Thank you, Darla. I have to say, every time the trolls come on my page and they make all these assumptions and they tell all these lies, and then they expect the rest of you to believe that I'm some kind of a liar and a grifter, or my favorite, I'm in a cult. Do you know what a cult is? Because I think that everybody who claims that I'm in a cult, maybe they're the ones. I think it's all projection. And I think it's actually pretty funny. And none of you can get me down because I am playing to one audience only, and that's Lord above. He knows who I am, and I know who I am. So you can say whatever you want. I really don't care. Well, thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Oh, okay. Hey, Danny, thank you for letting me know about MERZ. I don't know anything about MERZ, so I really welcome your comments. And my friend Danny here is from Germany, so please tell us more, Danny. Was he elected? Was that election rigged? Like, seems like all of them are these days. Hey, LaDonna, good to see you, my friend. I gotta wonder. You know, everything today is just so crazy, but here's what I believe. I want to make America great again, and I don't think there is anything more important than that. Yeah, one of my supporters removed the comments that call me a grifter, but the last time I checked, the grifters usually, they have money, right? I don't have money because I don't really need money. I live on my faith and actually the kindness of my friends and my followers, and I'm not hurting anybody, and I'm not stealing from anybody, and I'm just trying to tell the truth, which is what I've been doing my entire life. So, and you're right, everyone needs money, but I don't really get very much money from doing this. You know, actually, I was just telling how much I did make in the past year of being on YouTube, and it was a little more than $700, and I think that's fantastic. Is it enough to live on? No. And are my teeth real? They are. And you want to see how I can prove that they're real? Not that I have to prove anything to you, but people do often ask me about my teeth because they are wonderful teeth, and I am so happy to the Lord above for giving them to me. Unfortunately, I have a really bad habit. I grind my teeth at night. It's something I've been doing for a long time. And I didn't realize that I could stop the damage with you know, like, it's like a night guard that you wear. And I didn't get that until just a year ago. But let this be a warning to all of you. With beautiful teeth or with not beautiful teeth, you don't want them to come off. I don't know if it's stress. I mean, I've been doing this for 30, 40 years. I don't know. My dentist always said something about it, but he didn't really tell me what I could do. Anyway, I lost that tooth like a month ago. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I'm looking into, should I get a flipper? Should I put like something fake in there and then I really will have fake teeth? I don't know. I don't know. I've got like a veneer here that looks pretty bad. Yeah, the dentist called my teeth a house of cards. And it's sad. I'm scared. I'll admit it. I'm not afraid of a lot of things, but I am afraid of losing my teeth. So yeah, and if you have ever looked into the price of getting implants or anything with your teeth, it's astronomical. I actually replaced I lost this tooth. I lost this tooth also. And I tried to replace this tooth. It was the first one that came out. And that's gross, Cardo, okay? And when this tooth came out, I tried to get the implant. I thought I was gonna do all the right things. They wanted like, I think it was like $5,000 at least, and this was, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. And I tried to mitigate the cost. I had to go to the dental school, and I didn't like the way that happened. So, you know, Rosa Ann, I know you don't care about my teeth, but people tell me about them all the time. And I think it is interesting that the older you get, and I'm 59 years old, that your teeth do start to wear out and they do fall out. So if just one young person gets hard, if you know you grind your teeth, and if just one of you gets a night guard and puts it on, I promise you, you will save yourself a lot of hassle and headaches. So, you know, just be respectful, okay? Teeth are a lot, Tamara. You're absolutely right. So, yeah, I know, 59 years of fabulous. Yeah, yep, this is my stream. I can say what I want. So, you're welcome to like just move along. You don't have to watch my show if you don't like it. I'm not here trying to upset anybody. I'm not here trying to anger you, but sometimes you come on and you try to anger me. Anyway, Danny Gerlach with some actual information for us. Danny is from Germany, and she says that all Merz wants is to get, you know, she speaks German, to get proof from Trump to get the okay to send the tourists to Russia. That would mean, well, oh gosh, oh Danny, I'm sorry, I don't really understand what you're talking about. So it sounds like Merz has a plan, huh? Anyway, nobody's gonna marry me. My husband has passed away almost 3 years ago, so I'm done with the marriage thing. As you know what I say. But anyway, basketball. Xanax and wine will kill you, Adam. So you might love them, but I guarantee they don't love you. So you might want to watch yourself on that. Love you, Donna. I look like a zebra with high blood pressure. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. I just top, don't you? Actually, this came from Donna. You see her. She is my stylist, and she is fantastic. It was going to cost over $20,000 to get dentures for her father-in-law. He was going to have to get them permanently placed. That's right, they're super, super expensive. And I am very concerned about what I'm gonna do in the future if my teeth start to fall out. So the only reason I wanna get the flipper thing here is because I've noticed that I have a little bit of a lisp now that this tooth is missing, and it's kind of affecting the way I talk, so. Yeah, stay away from alcohol and stay away from pills. I'm just saying, I mean, this is the past 60 years. I wouldn't say that I've completely stayed away from alcohol. I've definitely done my share of drinking, but at the same time, I've had years where I didn't drink at all. I was married to an alcoholic when I was younger, and his drinking and his bad habits made me see, and I had young children. So someone had to be sober in the house. And it had to be me, but you know, you do what you do. You can't rip my wine out of my cold dead hands. I hear you. I love the vino too. I love it, but I'm just saying, don't drink it all the time. You know, you can do anything. You don't have to go to excess, and you certainly should not drink every single day. No, I was never a Budweiser girl. I don't even like Budweiser. Ugh. I like European beers. And also being a Swiss citizen, I really loved the Swiss beers. They were very good. Ein Bierstange, bitte. That was the first thing all my brother had to learn when he came to visit Switzerland. Government pushing weed for the tax, like THC is healthy. You know, basketball, you're not wrong about that. And I do have to wonder about all the weed stores that are now, so I see them everywhere, and everybody's being actually kind of encouraged to go out, get your weed card, and it's not that expensive. And, oh, Blood Darla just took someone out. Oh, I know he didn't have the money. Anyway, yeah, it's been a big business here, and they tried to make it actually legal last year. They did a vote on it here in Florida, and we ended up saying no to it. But from what I heard, it was one of those weed companies that was actually pushing for it to be legal. So, okay, Danny's gonna try again. The toll is a racket, goes over. A raquette. What's a raquette? Over 900 kilometers to Russia. A German-made weapon. Okay, I'm going to look this up, Danny. Thank you. This is really interesting information. And this is one of the reasons why I love doing the beach report I do. Oh, by the way, I noticed somebody made a comment that the new Black Panther character, the new Black Panther is white. Okay, that is hilarious. True. There is a comic series, and I don't really follow comic books, but Marvel Knights, The World to Come #1, introduced a new Black Panther character named Kitama, who is depicted as white with blonde hair. And that is crazy. However, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Shuri, T'Challa's sister, took on the mantle of the Black Panther in Black Panther Wakanda Forever after his death. There are also rumors that T'Challa may become the new Black Panther in the future. It's important to note that the comic book and movie universes can have different storylines and character developments. I guess that sounds like real life as well, so it's funny. Anyway, okay, now we gotta look up this weapons thing. Okay, Taurus. Germany, Ukraine, okay. Okay, I'm going to read this article to you from BBC. The headline is German Chancellor promises to help Ukraine produce long-range weapons. Okay, now Danny is making a lot of sense. This is very interesting. I don't know. I'm not paying attention to the comments right now, Darla, but if you think somebody needs to be banned because they're being rude, then go ahead. But if they're because they just don't have the same, beliefs as we do, or they seem to have a difference of opinion, don't ban them. We can talk about it. I don't ban people who don't think the way I do. I only ban people when they come on and they say rude things about me or my followers or even my president. You don't need to be rude to make your point. You know, you can be, oh, somebody thinks I'm transgender. Whatever. I don't need to prove anything to you, so I really don't care. German Chancellor promises to help Ukraine produce long-range weapons. This was came out on the 28th of May. Germany's new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has told Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky that Berlin helped Kyiv produce long-range weapons to defend itself from Russian attack. We want to talk about production and we publicly discuss details, he said when asked by reporters in Berlin if Germany would supply Kyiv with its Taurus missiles. And that's what Danny is referring to when she says Taurus. Merz took office earlier this month, promising to beef up German support for Ukraine, and said this week that there were no longer any range restrictions on weapons supplied by Kyiv's Western allies. For weeks, there has been speculation that Merz will allow the deployment of German-made Taurus missiles, which have a range of 500 kilometers, that's 310 miles to us Yanks, and could reach deeper into Russian territory than other far-range weapons. Sounds like a very bad idea. Merz did not refer to the Taurus during his press conference with the Ukrainian leader, and German newspaper Spiegel said later that the systems being developed by Ukraine were not as sophisticated as Taurus, but had the advantage of being easier to operate. Germany's defense ministry said in a statement that Berlin would finance the production of long-range weapon systems in Ukraine, and that the first of these systems could be deployed in the Ukrainian armed forces in just a few weeks. Holy guacamole. However, Merz has since emphasized that a decision on lifting restrictions was taken by Western allies months ago. The new chancellor is seeking to cut a far more assertive figure on Ukraine than his predecessor, Olaf Scholz. So far, he is succeeding. This is according to the BBC, by the way. There may be many questions about the detail of Merz's missile cooperation plan, but his willingness to make big announcements that might antagonize the Kremlin stands in stark contrast to the cautious tone of the last government. During a conference with Zelensky, Merz promised Ukraine continued support for as long as necessary, warning Moscow that its refusal to take part in further peace talks would have real consequences. It has called for talks aimed at reaching a settlement on the war to involve 3 leaders, Trump, Putin, and me. Although he added he was ready for any format. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov did not dismiss the idea out of hand, but said such a meeting could only take place after concrete agreements had been reached between the 2 delegations. Yeah, comic books. The reason I brought up the comic book thing was because one of my followers, somebody on the page, talked about the comic book thing, and I went, what does that mean? And I looked it up, and now we know. So you're very welcome. Although Ukraine and Russia held their first direct talks for more than 3 years in Istanbul earlier this month, the meeting involved low-level officials, and they were only able to agree on a prisoner exchange, which took place last weekend. On Wednesday, however, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Moscow is ready indeed to hold a second round of peace with Kyiv. According to a statement posted on state news agency TASS, he said the next round of talks could take place on the 2nd of June in Istanbul, where Russia would present a memorandum outlining its peace terms. We hope that all those who are sincerely, and not just in words, interested in the success of the peace process will support holding a new round of direct Russian-Ukrainian negotiations, Lavrov said. So I see someone asking what I do. Sometimes I read the news, sometimes I talk about the beach, sometimes I sing, sometimes I dance. I do lots of different things on the beach. This is an interactive show that has been on the air since 2015 when I published my first book, like it was yesterday, A Journalist's Files Since 9/11. So I am an author, journalist. I was with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for 18 years. I lived in Switzerland for 10 years. I'm a Swiss citizen. That's right, I actually immigrated from America to Switzerland. Crazy, right? Looks like Darla had another one, bit the dust. Too funny. Anyway, I don't have to explain myself to anybody, but I do want you to Beach Report, and it is an interesting show, and we have a lot of fun here. And the only thing I'm trying to do is to make America great again, but also make you guys great again too. I think that our country, I think all the people in the world have been horribly, horribly damaged by the hatred shown to people who are just trying to do the right thing. So, it's funny. And I look at the comments, sometimes it throws me off because people can be so nasty and rude to people they don't even know. And I find that to be so sad. But on the other hand, it doesn't bother because I don't care what strangers think of me. I have to say this again and again, but I'm only playing to one audience, and that's the Lord above. And someday, I will stand before him, and he will say to me the words I long to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant. And I think if every single one of us behaves in the notion that you are actually performing your life or living your life in service of God above, and that when you are done living your life, he will judge you on your merits and on your deeds, think about it. Just think about it. And see what would you do different if you knew that he's the only one that matters. Just saying, just some food for thought. I think a lot of people need to hear things like this. And I see people like throwing so much hate at me, and it's just so unnecessary. By the way, I can't even see half of the things you're saying because my eyes aren't that good because I'm kind of old. But I don't see these things, so they don't bother me if I don't even know what you're saying, because what people say to you behind your back, even though these are in front of my face, it's none of their business. I'm sorry, it's none of your business. So I really don't care. And you can say whatever you want. And all these comments will go away like magic when the show's over and it's a rerun. So you're welcome to come back on in the replay, and you can watch again and say whatever you want, because yeah, I'm totally grifting off of YouTube. It's so much fun. I do these shows every day. It's a lot of work. If you think that's grifting, then then that's what you think, and that's okay. That's your opinion. I'm an author, I'm a mom, I'm a friend, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, all of those things. I'm a person. So if you think that you're having a good time coming on and saying you want to tear me down, you just have at it. And I see one of my moderators is going crazy. Tear them apart. Anyway, yes, Danny, I say it like it is. And I have thousands of followers because of what I do and what I say. And I would not do this show if nobody appreciated me. And if all I got unmitigated hate, then I think I'd have to stop. But what I get mostly is love. And that's why I do everything, is because of the love. Yes, the super love from all over the world. Exactly. Education, there's no hatred here. I love everybody, and I want everyone to just love everybody else, because all of this hate, it's not helpful. I mean, what are you doing? Like, think about your life goals. If you come on a show like this and you feel compelled to put me down for how old I am, or because I wear the MAGA hat, because I want my country to be great again, you want to say crap about me, you go right ahead. I don't care. You're not bothering me. But the people who really do need to hear my message, they're on here too. So you're the ones that I'm talking to. You're the ones that I respect the most. And thank God Trump won. Thank God. Because seriously, if he hadn't won, I was kind of afraid for people like me. I put it out there. I'm unapologetic for who I am and what I want for the rest of my country. I will say it as I think it, as I believe it. I'm not here putting on any kind of fakery for you. I'm not a scammer. Call me one if you want, but usually scammers, they actually get money. So I don't know. I don't have any money. I don't need any money. I have nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing. I own nothing, nothing. And that's by design. It's on purpose, because nobody can buy me. Nobody can sell me. I'm of my own person. And I get what I need when I need it. And that's because of God. He takes really good care of me. And all the other people who are like me. And those of you who are watching who are just like me, you know who you are. So, yeah. It's all good. I know, Danny, but we're Trump in the world, so it's going to be okay. That's right. Let's make America great again. When was America great for Black? You've always got a problem. I'll tell you when America was great for Blacks. I'll tell you exactly when. In the 1880s, a little war that you might have recalled, it was the war between the states. It was a civil war. And back then, northern families of, because the blacks were imported, might I say, sold by their own people to slave traders and brought into the southern states. Okay, this is the history, and that was what was going on. So back then, the white families up north thought this was unfair, and they sent their sons down south to fight for the black people. And unfortunately, it seems like the black people forget this all the time. It's really quite sad, because a lot of white men lost their lives in order for black people to be free in America. And if you think that that's not true, or I'm lying about that, you just go read a history book, okay? I'm just saying, you want to know when blacks were great? It was when they from the northern states to become free. And if they will turn around and now slap us in the face and tell us that we're bad people because we did that, I don't know. I don't think I'm off about any of it. Look it up for yourself. A lot of white people died in our Civil War so that black people could be free. And that's a fact. All right. I've had about enough of this. Sometimes it makes me very tired watching all this craziness and all you nasty people. But anyway, like I said, I do this for the loving people. I do this for the ones that actually love this country and wanted to be great again. When I was growing up in America in the 70s and the 80s, I left in the 90s, but I was here for the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I remember having friends of all different colors, shapes, and sizes. And I grew up Jewish. And I remember anti-Semitism too, directed in my family. Did I let it put me down? Did it make me afraid for the rest of my life? Well, maybe it should have, because look at what's going on these days. But no, it didn't. It made me stronger. It made me want to educate everybody who went to school with me what it was like to actually be Jewish and what Jewish people were standing for, and how we have something called Tikkun Olam, which means heal the world. So that's what I get, raised as a Jew. But I also love the Lord Jesus. So I accepted him in 2018 and became born again. But not a born again Christian, a born again Jew, because I'm a Jew who loves Jesus. That's it. All right, you guys. If you like the things I'm saying, please like and subscribe. I really can't do this without you. If you hate my guts and wish me harm, please move along and just go somewhere else and you know, crap on somebody else. I don't need it. But you can't find me because I travel all the time. I live my life kind of, you know, like a nomad, doing my shows wherever I go. So it's hard to find me. It's hard to connect with me, but I'll tell you what, I'm on every single day, working it hard. So say what you want about me, but I'm here just trying to make my country great again. All right, you guys. I love you, good people. Ciao for now.